I'm grappling and look to your leadership and experience on this issue of immigration.
Yeah.
What is your wisdom and thinking experience on what's legal, not legal? A big tough fence.
My experience is that the American people, historically, are on balance much more generous than they are parochial. But what they want to know is what you're saying to them makes sense. And there's three things that make sense, it seems to me. And the point is, how do you bring them in line with one another? It makes sense that no great nation can be in a position where they can't control their borders. It matters how you control your borders. Not just for immigration, but it matters for drugs, terror, a whole range of other things. So that's the first sort of truism. The second truism is that this nation is such that people in the country should have the first opportunity to be able to have jobs that pay well and have jobs that are decent, and that after that, the second crack goes to what we may need from other parts of the world or any other input. And the third sort of truism is that we as a country have never let, no matter what the source, children and disadvantaged people, legal or illegal, be left out there to just, atrophy, to stay in the shadows, to be victimized. And we've always given them a path, legal or illegally getting here, a path to deal with it. Look, there's an awful lot of the illegals, quote unquote, that are here, the undocumented, that are here that didn't choose to be here. They're children. They're children. And so the question is, how do you take those three instincts and urges of the American people, this notion of fairness, get in line, don't jump ahead of the line, Buzz, you get in line. And these people didn't get in line, they jumped ahead of the gate. That bothers people. And how do you reconcile that with the fact that a lot of people are here and have been here a long time who didn't ask to come here, but now are in a position where how do you deal with them? And here's the conclusion I come up with. And it's sort of in equal parts. We have to. And I had been arguing when I'm back in my days as chairman of the Judiciary Committee, and straight through as the leader of the Foreign Relations Committee. I've been arguing for the need to put more protection at our borders, meaning that you have more border guards. This president, refusing to add the number of border guards, now said he has to send the National Guard down. He vetoed. He was against adding the number of border guards. I only can suggest the reason he was is because he needed that money for his tax cuts that were unnecessary. I'm not being facetious. I'm being serious. Again, show me what you value. He had put a higher value on tax cuts for the wealthy than he did on protecting the border. And all of a sudden, the public responds, and now he says, now we got to send the National Guard down there that's already overstretched by God knows how much. You know the units going in and out of your own state, going to Iraq and to Afghanistan. So I think what you have to do is you have to have a significant increase in the security at the border, including limited elements where you actually have a fence. Not a fence 3,000 miles like these folks are talking about, but you've got to, there are certain places people can go over and under a fence, but you can't take 100 kilos of cocaine over and under a fence. And what you do when you have limited places where fences are in populated areas, you force these drug dealers and others around, making it easier to apprehend because there's fewer places to come through. So I think the combination of virtual fencing, some fencing, additional border patrol is important. But the second piece is you got 14 million people here. 14 million people here are undocumented, a significant number of them being children. The idea of us having the money and or the means by which to gather up 14 million people and put them in planes, buses, and trucks and send them back to their country of origin, first of all, would be prohibitively expensive, take every bit of our law enforcement effort that we have in the nation dealing with all other things to do it, and beyond that, imagine what we would look to like the rest of the world. It would make the Statue of Liberty look like a miniature if we were doing that. The truth of the matter is we should provide for a means by which there is earned access over time, where you have to learn the language, where you have to demonstrate you have a job, you've paid your taxes, you pay back taxes, you have a tamper-proof card, you go back to the area of embarkation to be able to be registered, you have a criminal background check, a path made available to people to demonstrate they are good citizens, can be good citizens, and have that pathway over the next decade. And that's about how long it would take. I think that's reasonable. The third thing, though, is the part about jobs. I don't like the part where you have, it's amazing how the free enterprise system, and my conservative business friends talk about free enterprise and the right of competition and supply and demand. And yet there's one whole category of people they want to be allowed in on work permits that will take away jobs of Americans right now. We need seasonal agricultural workers, it makes sense, and we need special H-1B people where we don't have enough people to fill spots that are needed at the high end, the high-tech end. I understand that. But I don't go for this idea of having the allowance of a significant increase, several 100,000 people a year, to take regular jobs, particularly in the construction industry. When you have another 300,000 people competing to hang drywall, figuratively speaking, or to carry bricks up a stairway up to the 15th story of a building, or to do a lot of other work in the construction area, guess what it allows the employer to do? Keep the wage lower. We have plenty of Americans that take those jobs. We don't have Americans who aren't willing to take those jobs. But the reason why the employers want this extra influx on a temporary basis, in my view, is it drives costs down. That's not fair to Americans. So you have to hold employers responsible in this measure here. Hold them responsible that they have to hire Americans first. Only if there's no Americans available for the job should we be promoting the idea of bringing in extra workers, in my view. Now here's the part that gets me in trouble, though. I'm the only one that says what I'm about to say. I'm given credit for knowing something about foreign policy. Whether the credit is due or not is for you to determine. But I get applauded when I say things that suggest that Egypt or Pakistan or Saudi Arabia have some more equitable way to deal with their own citizens in terms of democracy, so that the only outlet is not the mosque and the radicalization of a population. Well, when I say what I'm about to say, I get criticized. The truth of the matter is, if we settle the immigration problem tomorrow and deal with all 14 million undocumented, okay? And by the way, everybody thinks every undocumented is from Mexico. The truth of the matter is that half the undocumented, more than half, are not Spanish speakers. They're people who have come here and overstayed their visas. There are people from Europe, there are people from Asia, there are people from Africa, there are people from the Middle East. They've overstayed their visa. And we've used there's been a little bit of race baiting in this debate here. That somehow it's all those Mexicans that are coming across and they're going to, I actually had a woman ask me, and God love her, I think she meant it. She said, isn't this the way in which they're going to take back Texas? No, I'm serious. It's part of urban legend going, seriously. Get so many Mexicans that are going to move into Texas and New Mexico that they'll reclaim that, So there's a lot of urban legend in this. But here's the deal. As it relates to Latin America, until Mexico, for one, which is one of the richest nations in the hemisphere, people aren't coming to the United States from Mexico because it's a poor nation. It's because they have an incredibly terrible distribution system of providing any services or opportunities for their people. It's a stratified economy by and large, the very, very wealthy and the very poor. And I don't know what people think. There's this image that everybody just wants to come to the United States of America. The idea that you have a family tonight sitting in some dirt poor village in Mexico saying at the dinner table with their meager meal, you know what we should do? We should gather up every single solitary spare cent we have. We should sell everything we have to get enough money to pay to a bunch of thugs who are going to put us in an airless tractor trailer, drive us up to the border, send us across the desert, which we may or may not make, to go to a country that doesn't want us, to speak a language that we don't know. Let's go. We can hardly wait to leave. The reason why people go and come here, and particularly in the case of the easiest access route through Mexico, is because the discrepancy between what they can earn for their family in that place and what they can earn here is 10, 12, 15 to 1. And as long as those odds are 10, 12, 15 to 1, people will walk through walls to do that. So we should be saying to Mexico, hey, we can't make you change your system. But guess what? You better have a more equitable system for your own people, giving them a chance for education, for opportunity, for health care in your own. Or don't expect cooperation from us in a lot of things. Because if we don't, we can fix this problem, and 15 years from now we're going to be saying, what are we going to do about the flow of illegals into the country of the United States of America? So they're the elements of the way I'd go about dealing with it. It's hard, it's difficult, it's susceptible to demagoguery, but the basic facts are employers have to be held accountable for unscrupulous practices of bringing people here in order to keep wages down. We have to protect our border by putting more infrastructure and investment in the border to be able to control it, not just for immigration, but for drugs. And we have to provide a pathway for the people who are here that earn the opportunity to become American citizens. That's how I view it.